Sup, fuckers?
What's going on?
How the hell are you?
Yeah, dude, I'm glad we're going to sit down today and we're going to talk about some heavy shit.
Yeah.
9/11.
I can't stop laughing already from how the hell are you?
Yeah, 9/11. My favorite holiday.
Wow.
I was wondering what kind of comment I would get by saying that.
I think that's going to be the general reaction.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. When you have nothing else to say.
When you have nothing else to say, yeah. Side note, my favorite 9/11 meme is the building on fire and it has all the like revive tags from Call of Duty.
Wow.
He's like
Wow.
wincing. Wow. Anyway, let's go ahead and get the elephant in the room out of the way. So I want you guys to answer this one individually, obviously. Before you looked into anything related to 9/11, did you believe it was a conspiracy?
In what way?
In the way that the U.S. government made it happen?
Yes.
Nope.
Really?
I'm big on conspiracy theories. I have a lot of things that I do think are conspiracy theories. I think COVID-19 was a conspiracy theory, but that's another topic for another day. But I personally don't think it was.
Why do you think it was a conspiracy?
Just because there's so much evidence of people that were behind the money that were so connected to each other and to the money that was made with all the contracts after 9/11. So I do believe that it was a false flag operation.
I'm in agreement. I mean, even going before 9/11, where just a few days before that, there was $2 trillion that went missing. Nobody had any accountability for it. We're talking $2 trillion of taxpayers' money. That's a lot of fucking zeros.
What is that, like? A trillion is a million?
No, I think a trillion is 100 billion times 100 billion.
Yeah, it's 999 billion plus all the other nines plus $1.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And it's a lot that if it goes missing, somebody needs to be accountable for it. But instead, $2 trillion just magically vanished. And then a couple days later, not only does the World Trade Center get hit where that money should have been tracked, also in the accounting section of the Pentagon gets hit in the same day by a plane.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's just too many coincidences that don't add up in the right direction and do add up in the wrong direction.
Well, even like you said, you know, the defense contractor thing, the vice president at the time, Dick Cheney, owned a contracting company and made millions and tens of millions of dollars off of the war that was to follow.
Yeah. Him and Bush and... So I don't know if you looked into the... I was just talking to T before you got here about the Carlyle Group. It was like a financing firm that bought and sold companies, and Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, President Bush, the Bin Ladens, and the Saudi Arabia family, or the Saudi royal family, were all some of the top shareholders in this company, or this group, this investment group.
Very interesting.
The Carlyle Group. The Carlyle Group owned a lot of the businesses that got put into real big money after the war started, and the invasion of Iraq after that, and kind of how they took over, the oil industry over there for a time, and it was put into the hands of the like Chevron and stuff like that. That was all part of the Carlyle Group. So yeah, it was interesting to find all of that out.
Now, knowing that, T, does that slightly alter your perception?
I hear what Spencer's saying. Kind of like when, I guess it's kind of like when shit happens, follow the money, right?
Yeah, that's how you prove any conspiracy is follow the money.
Yeah. So, for me, not so much. I mean, on that one, if I was going to try to say to debate that, President Bush's whole thing, because I just remember, the little bit that I remember of it, I think 9/11 happened when I was in like 7th grade. And maybe it was just because prior to 9/11 happening, for me, I didn't think that Muslim terrorists or whatever were like a thing. But I distinctly remember watching it in 7th grade, and the first thought that came to my head was it was them goddamn Russians. Turns out I was extremely wrong. But no, with President Bush, I know the one thing that I look at is we were in Afghanistan looking for Osama bin Laden and other people linked to this whole shit show. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, well, I want to go into Iraq because they might have weapons of mass destruction. So my debate to kind of what you guys are saying is that I feel like that, let's just say in a hypothetical scenario that September 11th never happened. I still think that sometime during Bush's presidency, he still would have said that Iraq may have weapons of mass destruction, and that whole shit show still would have carried out, with or without the events of September 11th.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's kind of like, when you look at it from the perspective of people investing money in like defense contractors and shit like that, I think it's easy to say that, yeah, President Bush was going to do what he was going to do regardless of whatever else happened. It just kind of, I think September 11th postponed or pushed back maybe the speed in which he was going to try to do that.
Well, it definitely accelerated it.
I really believe that the easiest way to get somebody to do something that you want them to do is by making them feel like they want you to do it. Like, it's making them believe that it's something that they want. So trying to convince the American public that we should go and invade Iraq is a whole lot easier if, you create something that points a finger in that direction and say, okay, well, now we have an excuse.
Yeah.
So after 9/11 happened and we invaded Iraq, President Bush had one of the highest approval ratings ever of any president ever.
Which is strange.
Which is super strange because nobody...
Scarily fucking inept.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean... Getting some... Yeah. So, yeah. In my experience, if you want somebody to do something, you convince them that it's something that they want.
Yeah.
And they ask for it themselves. And they, oh, okay, we can do that. But you had that as a plan all along.
Yeah.
Well,
Getting somebody to say, what?
What?
And I think to add to it, September 11th definitely fueled the fire to go to Iraq, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we just had an attack on American soil that had all of these Middle Eastern people linked to it, and then on top of that you go and say, well, hey, there's these other people in the Middle East and they got weapons of mass destruction, we should fuck them up too, right? And everyone in America's like, fuck yeah, we should.
America!
I mean, the last guys were so poor they couldn't even buy a gun, they had to steal a plane to kill people. So I guess I see what you're saying, that it could be easier to get the American people on board to be like, yeah, let's, because I think at that time, I think just about anybody in America was probably on the same page of just like, man, let's just fucking nuke that whole area out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, when the idea came up to invade Iraq for their weapons of mass destruction that were
Never found.
never found.
Well, it's easy to see that that whole event just galvanized America as a whole to be Americans. Like your skin color, your race, your religion, none of it mattered. You were American. And obviously you get hit and you want to get hit, or you want to hit back. And that's really what happened. And I think at that time a lot of people were like, yeah, dude, let's go get some fucking payback.
Yeah.
And it was super easy because when 3,000 plus Americans died because of this terrorist event, and where they hit us at home, it wasn't like they went and hit embassies or, anybody inside, in a country that's not our own. Like, it happened on our land. It happened in our own front yard. So naturally everybody was like, fuck them guys, let's go fucking beat them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, the last country or the last group of people that tried to carry out, I wouldn't necessarily classify it as terroristic acts, but
It's an act of war.
yeah, the last group of people that did that, they had a couple of really large bombs dropped on their country. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that was such a culturally significant event that even if you can't pronounce a single word in Japanese, you know Hiroshima and you know Nagasaki.
Yeah.
And they know not to fuck with us.
Talking about transitioning to from Bin Laden to Saddam Hussein in Iraq really was kind of weird that a lot of people didn't question that more, because Osama bin Laden really didn't have anything to do with Iraq. Like, I think he lived mostly in Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Had connections to the Saudi royal family in Saudi Arabia. So for them to pivot off of bin Laden and go after Saddam, I thought was strange. But then when you look at it, it's like President Bush, his dad, when he was president,
Oh, yeah. He had an axe to grind against Saddam
went
Hussein.
to war against Saddam Hussein back in the, when was that, the 90s?
The late 80s.
Late 80s.
Desert Storm.
Operation Desert Storm.
my dad went there.
And so
Oh, really?
he's just,
He was a Humvee mechanic.
Bush Jr. is trying to make Papa proud.
Yeah, I thought that since when it first happened.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's little Bush trying to finish Dad's work.
So then I was kind of looking into that. I actually looked into that a couple of years ago. I was just looking into it, I mean, by using Google and just fucking going down rabbit holes. And found some videos that were talking about how they believed it was a front to get into Iraq because Saddam Hussein was saying that he was going to switch from using the dollar, the American dollar, which oil prices are traded in all around the world, and that area is one of the biggest producers of oil, if you don't know that. But he was going to switch from using the American dollar as the standard to using the Deutschmark or the euro as the standard to trade in oil, so that would supposedly cause a bunch of inflation because it would devalue the dollar.
Yeah, because euros are famously more than American dollars.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's
Was that Bush Sr. or Bush Jr.?
Bush Jr.
Yeah.
Bush Jr., okay.
Yeah, the whole Saddam Hussein thing, that guy needed to be taken out.
Yeah.
Didn't mean it had to be that way. Some of my favorite conspiracies have to do with the impact of the plane itself, or I should say the two planes and the two different towers. The Pentagon one is a little more straightforward because it's not, a skyscraper. I think it's 8 or 10 levels, surface anyway. I don't know what's underneath. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. You put a 100-ton plane into a building, it makes a big hole. But some of the other ones that I've been down the rabbit hole plenty of times on is this whole argument of jet fuel doesn't burn hot enough to melt steel, or the building fell too fast, or it was a controlled demolition, or my favorite, which is like straight out of the Flat Earth Handbook, is that American pilots fired missiles at the building, but it was a hologram of a plane, which is the most outlandish, stupid fucking thing.
Is that somebody really said that?
Oh yeah, that's a big prevailing theory.
Oh my
Oh
God.
wow.
Isn't that the stupidest shit you ever heard?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I saw.
Was the hologram of Tupac on top of the missile that was going there?
He was
Like,
probably the pilot.
yeah, he was just like up there like throwing
Tupac
up.
Shakur? It sounds pretty Muslim to me, dude.
He's up there just throwing up a West Side gang sign with his hands, like as the plane's going into the building. Like,
Don Illuminati, motherfucker.
I never heard that one. I heard the speculation that it was a rocket, not a plane that hit the towers. But
Yeah, they just like 3D printed a whole plane around it, so it
Yeah.
looked like a plane.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite ones was the devil's face in the smoke of the towers.
Oh Lord.
I don't know if you guys saw it. I'm sure everybody saw that.
Yeah.
Those pictures that went around.
I don't even.
It's either it's one of two things. It's either straight up pareidolia. You know what that is?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
see faces and
Yeah, where you'll
objects.
basically your mind will make up something inside another object.
But your brain is programmed to look at people's faces and stuff like that to see something as your mind is trying to make it into something
Yeah.
recognizable.
That's why people see Jesus in their toast in the 90s.
Well, that's because Jesus is in their toast, I think.
It could very well be. But yeah, the other thing is just very clever Photoshop.
Yeah, I haven't heard so many of these things that you guys are talking about, and quite frankly, I'm kind of glad I haven't. Like, I feel like somebody trying to say that it was a torpedo with a hologram that made it look like a plane. It's like, what fucking like? I want to say like what third grader came up with that, but
That's
I don't
right.
think a third grader could come up with that. I don't think a third grader knows what the fuck a hologram is.
Well, maybe nowadays they do, but even a third grader would go, bro, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah, like I don't know. You would have to be under some kind of very heavy fucking drug to like.
Yeah.
That's like some shit that somebody would say when they wake up from anesthesia from the dentist. You know those fucking videos that people
I
make
saw
of like, this is my
torpedo.
son after getting out of the dentist, and it's just this kid. He's just like, there was a hologram torpedo that hit the World Trade Center. Like,
Dude, my favorite one of those videos is the kid wakes up from anesthesia, and I think he had surgery, and the nurse is there taking care of him. He's like, hey, will you show me your boobs? And the dad was like, that's inappropriate. He's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that. That was terrible of me. But yeah, that's straight out of the fucking Flat Earth Handbook right there.
So I think that something that plays into all of the misinformation around 9/11 was that it was, I mean, it happened in 2001, kind of the internet and sharing memes and you know, emailing stupid shit to your friends and stuff was kind of just in its infancy, really. And so people found a place to put out information that they had, you know. And I think at that time it felt kind of like you were getting inside information, and a lot of people couldn't put together that a lot of these things were just fucking bullshit.
Yeah,
And so if it's on the internet, it's true, right?
has to
Back
be,
then.
especially if it's on Facebook.
back then, oh, absolutely back.
I mean,
then.
Facebook wasn't even a thing. I don't think even MySpace was even online at that time. So it was really just like YouTube. I think was Google Play.
YouTube came out in 2004.
Yeah. So
So it's-
before that, it was Google Play. And it was
Amazon
just
probably
barely.
just sold books.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like internet message boards at that time.
Right.
That was pretty much it.
Right. And so, like, the people that were really into message boards and using the internet in this capacity were, you know, the classic fucking internet troll people that are
Mhm.
stuck in their basement just on the fucking dark web. So a lot of the misinformation was passed around by all these people and then spread through gossip.
Yeah, I just have a hard time with a lot of the conspiracy theories that are easily debunked, especially the jet fuel one, because that one always seems to come about with like the heavy-handed conspiracy theorists, like, oh, jet fuel doesn't burn hot enough to melt steel. It doesn't have to melt steel. So jet fuel burns at 2100 degrees Fahrenheit. Steel melts at 2800 degrees Fahrenheit. That's getting it hot enough that it's going to bend and cave. It doesn't have to totally melt.
Well, you have to think about the structure. I mean, we were talking about this to you earlier. Is the structure of the buildings also was the building was around and all the elevator shafts were in the middle of the building.
Mm-hmm.
And those are just hollow tubes that go all the way up and down the building. So if you had a crash that hit in there, jet fuel ignites, and there's probably 500 tons of paper inside these buildings. Paper catches on fire, and what happens when you light a fire is it starts sucking air from the bottom up.
Yeah.
So it just started going like a fucking chimney stove in the elevator shaft.
Exactly.
Just almost acting like a rocket stove. This huge rocket stove just fucking getting hotter and hotter, burning all this paper and carpet and all the material inside the building that's going to burn.
Plus, you're up high, 1,000 feet high, where the wind is naturally higher. So you're just going to super oxygenate this fire with a higher wind speed.
Yeah.
The higher up you are.
Well, I know, like the one that, and I think I sent it to you, Dave, a while back. I remember sending you a screenshot, but it was called like 9/11, the explosive evidence, and I was actually listening to it again because I haven't listened to it for a while or watched it for a while. But it has a whole bunch of like architects, structural engineers, and not just architects. Like these are high-rise architects, and they even like show you pictures of the buildings that they're accredited with being the overseer on and everything like that. So these guys are professionals in their field. Demolitions experts, chemists, all this shit. The one thing that everybody keeps saying as I'm watching this is they're like, buildings that are made of steel don't just fall like this. It's like, you're right. Buildings that are made of steel don't just fall like that. But what about a building made of steel that just had a fucking airplane fly through it? Like, that's like, I swear to fucking God, man, if you watch it, you'll watch it and just be like, because they do make good points. And there's a lot of data behind what they're saying. But the one thing they keep ignoring was, yeah, but a plane fucking flew through it.
Yeah.
The structural integrity of any goddamn building you make is going to be compromised as soon as a commercial aircraft flies through it. I think that kind of goes without saying.
Yeah, you're talking about a 767. And I looked up the weight rating. Takeoff weight maximum is 100 tons. Put a 100-ton aircraft, let's say, on floor 60. All right, now say floor 60 caves in. Now floor 59 has to hold the weight of floor 60 plus a 100-ton aircraft.
Yeah.
And it's just going to keep toppling down and down and down. And each floor that it topples is going to be heavier and heavier. So this
just
whole, like...
even the weight of that impact hitting the next floor down is just going to crumble. Just
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then they were talking about how it's impossible for these structural beams to be hurled out of the building. I'm sorry, but take like, do you guys ever watch these YouTube videos where people just put shit in a hydraulic press just to see what it'll do?
Yeah.
That's essentially what I think, with my understanding of the laws of physics, that's kind of what I think happened. And so when you consider that, I know there was one beam that hit the American Express building that actually got lodged into the side of the building.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, this is a beam that weighs this much, and it had to be an explosion. No, it did not.
No.
If there was enough pressure coming down on that, to think that that beam could be under so much pressure, that it's almost like a slingshot effect, if you will. You know what I mean? To think that that thing's going to fly hundreds of feet at a crazy amount of speed and get lodged into the side of another building, that to me is not illogical with what I understand of it with the laws of physics.
So if you took a paper clip and you straightened it out and you held it between your index finger and your thumb like this, and you apply pressure, it starts to bend. When it decides to escape the grasp of your fingers, it's going to shoot out.
Yeah.
Like, you can test that anywhere. It's when you put pressure on a rigid object like that, it's going to flex until it doesn't want to flex anymore, and then it's going to escape.
Mm-hmm.
That's just...
Yeah, and that's, I don't know, I think the explosive evidence documentary that I watch, it is cool. There are some good points brought up in there, and the one thing that I do like about it is that it is entirely scientific based. It does not point out any of the other conspiracy type things. It's like they're just getting a whole bunch of actually really smart fucking people together saying like, it's not possible. But and I don't know if I've already mentioned it, but I was telling Spencer earlier, I'm fully convinced that World Trade Center 7, that was a controlled demolition, in my opinion.
Yeah, I heard that debris fell off the towers and hit it, catching it on fire. So this is the official story. So debris fell from the towers, hit Tower 7, catches it on fire, and so all the emergency response teams are, focused on the towers. There's a few teams that go to the Tower 7 and start fighting this fire in the building. And once the towers start coming down, the guy that owns the building says just pull it, and that was his actual word, pull it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people believed that him saying pull it was kind of saying pull the cord and explode it,
Yeah.
But I guess pull it is what the emergency teams, that's kind of how they say to quit working on the fire.
Yeah.
They're going to pull the plug on trying to fight this fire.
Well, that could have so many different connotations to
Right.
it. Pull the plug, we're not going to try to fight this, or pull the plug,
finger.
evacuate, pull my finger. He just took a drink right before then.
Almost sprayed me.
It looked like he was struggling there for a second.
That one almost came out. You had to say pull my finger. I don't understand why pull my finger is so funny, but it's still fucking hilarious.
I don't even know where that comes from, but it's a fucking good one.
Everybody's grandpa. That's where that came from.
Yeah.
I think it was issued out as a pamphlet. Like when you become a grandpa, you get a handbook.
They didn't even have the internet back then, so that was spread just fucking word of mouth or hand to mouth.
Yeah, that's actually kind of impressive when you think about it. Like, there was no TikTok of someone saying, check this out, dude, pull my finger.
Some grandpa was probably like, I saw this at the 1903 World's Fair. Watch this. Pull my finger.
It's terrible.
Saw it on stage.
Harry Houdini pulled this maneuver. I was super impressed.
Great thing is probably back then, the first time somebody ever did that, like if it happened like in the early 1900s, somebody would be like mind blown, like, holy shit, you can make yourself fart just by me pulling your finger?
Then they're sitting in their room later that night, just yanking on their individual fingers. Which one is it? Is it a different finger?
Going to school, hey, will you try pulling my finger real quick?
Maybe somebody else has to do it. Oh, it has to be somebody who was born on March 12th. That's how it works. Yeah, it's such an interesting thing that it's like so hotly debated on how the towers actually went down, and all these theories that get generated around it, and it's like, I almost feel like there's times where it's a disinformation campaign. So like if we're so busy squabbling over controlled demolitions or the temperature of jet fuel burning or how Tower 7 went down or whatever, it's like we're so busy squabbling over this that we forget to follow the money or figure out like why would this happen. Because I think the majority of people don't just accept, well, now here 21 years later almost, where we go, there's a lot of horse shit around that. But at the time, everybody was just like angry and pissed off that nobody bothered to look at those things.
Yeah.
I never even thought of the idea of it being a conspiracy theory until like literally a decade later when I went, okay, some of this stuff doesn't add up.
Yeah.
And by then, I think a lot of people were catching on, and you'd start seeing documentaries or people on YouTube or on the internet, talking about, okay, this is what really happened, or this is how it should have happened, or whatever. And then you kind of get into that sense of it being conspiracy and that it's total horseshit. But then you have to actually apply your thinking meat to it and go, okay, that doesn't make sense. It couldn't be a fucking hologram. That's dumb,
Yeah.
You guys ever see the South Park episode about the 9/11 attacks that have the Hardley Boys or whatever? You guys ever see that episode? It's a riot, but to try to sum it up as quickly as I can.
The fag episode?
No, that's the Harley Riders.
Okay.
But no, this one, I don't want to dive too deep into it because it's ridiculous, but it starts off with somebody taking a dump in the urinal at school. And nobody's going to fess up to it, and then somehow or another, it turns out that Cartman makes the whole school believe that Kyle was responsible for 9/11 because Cartman thinks the Jews were behind it. And then everybody at school starts to believe Cartman, and I don't know. But what ends up happening in the end is it ends kind of funny, though. George Bush ends up showing up and says, like, yeah, we did pull off 9/11. And they're like, what, really? And then he's like, yeah, it's all in these top secret documents right here. But you'll never get them. And he goes to stretch, and then he drops the files and then just stands there. And they're like, you're not responsible for 9/11. He's like, yeah, but we want to make people think that we were so that they think that we're all knowing and powerful. How can we convince everybody that we're the greatest country in the world if we let them know that we were so vulnerable that we got attacked by Muslim terrorists? So we got to make people think. And yeah, but it was kind of an interesting thing because I'm like, what if that were true? Right? What if, like, some of the big 9/11 truth organizations were, like, somehow secretly funded by the government to make people believe that the government could pull some shit like that off?
Dude, who's in charge of putting out the information?
From 9/11?
Yeah, it wasn't our pal, was it?
It wasn't Rick Doty? That would explain a lot.
That would explain a lot.
But yeah, it's an interesting. If you guys ever watch it, it's funny as shit.
Did they ever figure out who took a dump in the urinal?
Yeah, it was Stan.
Oh.
He eventually confessed to it.
I thought it was going to be George Bush.
That's where I thought too.
I'm telling you though, man, especially since we're talking about 9/11, man, you guys, if you have Max, HBO Max, jump on there and find it. It's a hilarious ass episode, but that's one of them things where it's like there's just so many conspiracy theories out there about 9/11, and I do think, like I said, that Spencer has a very good point, and I agree with you guys, follow the money. But still, is it very possible that a bunch of pissed off terrorists did it? Yeah.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
And
I have no denial that
I think
that's
that
possible.
even the easier thing would be, like I said before, you have to convince somebody to do something you want to make them want that. I mean, the CIA has been involved with Al-Qaeda since the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, when Al-Qaeda was first kind of formed, the CIA helped train and funded them with hundreds of millions of dollars a year for training and weapons. They were trained to fight the Russians on the Afghan border. And then after that, then they had this military force, and they kind of went around doing their own thing, kind of like the Wagner Group.
Yeah, I believe that there are so many factions in that same vein all over the world, not just to fight our enemies, but also to destabilize different governments so they can basically get these groups that they teach and they train to go in and do the bulk of the work, and then they throw a coup and they establish a more America-friendly regime in these countries.
Right.
Which is why a lot of these Middle Eastern countries are constantly in a state of flux, because the CIA likes to just dabble.
Yeah. And that's what they've done forever.
Yeah, as long as they've been around.
Yeah.
The CIA is like the most fucked up group. Like, all the shit that not only we think they've done, but they've copped to, like, what was the mind control one? The one that Charles Manson was part of. MK Ultra.
MK Ultra.
Yeah, shit like that, or the prostitution ring, Midnight Climax, and shit like that. And they openly admit to having done these things, and we still haven't, like, shut them down.
Yeah.
Yeah, the CIA definitely needs to be closed. Also, the ATF needs to go fuck itself.
Can't say that.
Yeah, I can.
ATF is alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what this fucking country was founded on. Like, if our country wasn't called USA, it could be called ATF.
Yeah. ATFB. Throw bacon in there.
Alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and bacon. That's, I think, when most people who have never been to America, never lived in America, I think that's probably what they think of when they think of America, is alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. As they should, because all three of those things are fucking awesome.
Yeah. I don't know why we have to regulate that stuff. It's so dumb.
I think we have all three of those things at this table right now.
Yes, we do.
Well, we don't have bacon.
We could. T just went droopy face. No. Oh, one of my other favorite, more kind of confirmed conspiracy theories was they allege they never found the black box for one of the planes. But this firefighter came out years later and said that he was actually rolling around through the rubble on a four-wheeler, and he found the black box, and he went to turn it in, and they took it, but then, like, told him, you can't talk about this to anybody, you can't mention you found it, whatever. And later on, he's like, fuck that, I'm going to tell everybody I found the black box. But still, to this day, we haven't found the black box.
Really?
Yeah.
I forgot about that one, because I remember seeing, I don't remember where I saw that years ago, that the guy had come forward and saying that he had found the black box. So I was, before you got here, I was watching one of the first documentaries to come out after 9/11. It's called Loose Change.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of the big one that was being circulated on the internet at that time, talking about all the stuff they were finding and theories that they had about how it was an inside job, and talking about the fires. Like, one of the things that they had this scientist that was looking at the rubble, samples of the rubble that he got, and was finding these little chips of paint that had the makeup of nanothermite.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one, that fed the fuel of burning so bright and hot. But it shouldn't have been, to him, it shouldn't have been in the building. Like, why would they have this nanothermite in the building? And he was finding little orange chips of it. And so they thought it might have been something that was in the paint. But yeah, that brought down the towers. And then one of the reasons why the fires burned for so long is they didn't put out the fires until like December.
Yeah.
Like halfway through December. So the fires were burning for 3-4 months at Ground Zero, which I thought was interesting, as they're trying to put these fires out. But like I said, I mean, fucking how tall were those towers? Like 100 and something floors?
110 floors each.
110 floors. I mean, that's a lot of rubble, and it's going to just fucking burn and smolder. And
yeah.
Well, one of the interesting things that I kind of was just talking to Spencer about, I think, too, just before you got here, was one of the common conspiracies is, and to me, I don't even think it's necessarily conspiracy because there's video proof of it, but when people say there were explosions at the bottom of the tower, people heard explosions at the bottom of the tower. I watched a video where one eyewitness said that it sounded like 2 subways underneath the World Trade Center had gone into like a full head-on collision. Like, it was bad. But one of the questions that I ask in regards to that is, were there generators for those buildings?
Well, everything has to have an emergency generator. Even where we work, we have emergency power.
Right. But to give emergency power to something the size of the World Trade Centers, I would imagine those have got to be some pretty large generators. Probably multiple of them. Probably multiple of them towards the bases of the buildings. And in addition to that, they're all probably fueled by diesel fuel. Which, diesel fuel, I was explaining to Spencer on a camping trip that I went on a couple months back. This guy had these things, these like pod-looking Johnskis, that he would put 4 gallons of diesel fuel in, and he would light it, and then like he could control like the heat level of it with like a little valve. And these things would burn for 6 hours with 4 gallons of diesel fuel. And it would actually emit heat. Like, I mean, it provided heat. Like, if it was over there against the wall, I could feel the heat from here.
Yeah.
Like, it resonated some serious heat to it. And it, yeah, so if 4 gallons of diesel fuel can burn like that, and imagine you've got multiple generators with God knows how much
Thousands of
diesel
gallons
fuel.
of
Yeah.
Diesel probably.
You know what I mean? That could be a very long burning fire as well. So,
Well,
not to say that you know, dismisses the thermite. You know, as far as to where the thermite came from, who the fuck knows, right?
Yeah, it's a funny thing with diesel fuel because it does have a higher ignition point than typical regular gas or petrol, if you're a Brit. But it does burn hotter and it burns longer. I mean, having lived in the Midwest, I'd seen people burn out tree stumps using diesel fuel because it burns long and hot.
Yeah.
And it's because of its higher water content that it does that. Seismologists in the area actually found out that there were 2 seismic activities that happened before the buildings went down. And I honestly believe that. I do believe that there was emergency power generators of some kind in the sublevels under the ground, which would have went off and then triggered not only these big seismic activities, but enable that fire to keep burning for months on end.
Yeah.
Well, the other kind of thing I was throwing out there to Spencer is like, you know, these planes crash into the tower, and, you know, as we were discussing where the elevator shafts are, that's just a tube in the center of the entire building that probably goes all the way down to the core of it,
Oh, for sure.
where the generators probably are. What's the likelihood that fire spread all the way down that elevator shaft?
Oh,
Down
easily.
to the generators.
Well, and it's like he was saying, you're going to pull all that air from the bottom, but the air has to travel down there and then circulate its way back up. And it's going to have its own high velocity because it is in an encapsulated tube.
Yeah.
Like, let's say all the doors to the elevators were closed at the time, which is unlikely, but still, 1 or 2 doors, whatever, it's not going to make a big deal. But as soon as that plane goes in, it's going to put a big whoosh of air down into the tube. So if it's already hot or carrying fire, it's going to push that fire straight down to the bottom, ignite whatever's down there, and then propel all that hot fire all the way back up. Like, the air around it is going to flash burn. And they say even the people in the lobby died instantly from flash burns.
Well, it's funny you mention that because the one that I was watching, like, and this was video evidence taken from the day of. So many people were like, the elevators exploded. The elevators exploded. And to me, I was like, when I first heard that, I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. But then I was kind of thinking of it like, yeah, if there is, since the elevator shaft is tubular and it runs the entire top to bottom of the building, like, that would make sense that if there was an explosion down there, it's gonna
Shoot the elevators out the top like a rifle.
Yeah. Well, you're also talking about a sealed can. Like, think about if you threw like a can of Dr. Pepper or whatever into a fire. Eventually it's going to blow up.
Oh my god.
Not-
Have you guys ever been around when someone does that?
Yeah, it's fucking obnoxious.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. Like,
Yeah.
I've ruined many a good t-shirts and gym shorts because somebody thought it was a funny idea to throw a beer can into the fire and not tell anybody. And it's like a fucking grenade, dude. There's like aluminum shrapnel that comes out. Like, if you're gonna do it, cool. Let me put my glasses on. Don't be a fucking dick.
Yeah.
Even with like the concrete that blew out away from the building, concrete, rock, stones, they can all explode. You ever put a river rock in a fire?
Oh yeah, it'll pop.
Oh yeah, and they pop violently.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Never done that.
Trapped water inside the rock that boils and
Yeah, you can't just like get a rock wet. You have to take one out of the river or whatever body of water that it's been in there, because rocks and stones are porous. So it's just all that water inside reaches its boiling point and it has to escape somewhere. And the little pores and everything that it went into aren't big enough to handle the escape, so the rock explodes to make space.
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to experience that.
It's cool when somebody else does it and films it and puts it on YouTube, but I don't want to be there when it happens.
Yeah, unless I've got like a blast wall and some really good safety glasses.
Or you're just a ways away.
I'm still wearing safety glasses.
Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. Lost my train of thought there.
I bet it was pull my finger.
Oh my god.
Well, no, didn't have one chambered. Fuck, now I'm even more lost.
I didn't have one in the breach. Fired an empty round. Dry fire.
My stomach's in a weird spot right now where, like, even if I did think I had one brewing, I'd almost be kind of afraid to do it, because then it would just be you two doing this for the next foreseeable little bit.
I got showers, dude.
You ever see that one guy? I don't know if he's on any other platform, but he's mainly on TikTok, and he's like a normal guy, lives in like a suburban area or whatever, but he'll put on these like mossy oak overalls and a hat and glasses, and he pretends to be a Southern grandpa.
Yeah.
And he'll do like just clips where he says shit that Southern grandpas say. He's like, "Oh, I got the bubble gut so bad if I leaned over and sneezed, I could paint the broadside of a barn." He's like, "I got the bubble gut so bad if I did a handstand and shit, I'd fire my shoes off." He just says like the silliest shit, or like he acts like he's this bad motherfucker. He's like, "Well, come on, step up, son. I'll turn the glasses into contacts." He's like, "There's 10 bad sons of bitches in this town, and 9 of them send me birthday cards." Anyway, I could quote him like all day. This shit's hilarious. Yeah, I think those particular conspiracy theories, with the way the building went down and all these other things that should have happened, it's just too far-fetched for me. And most of them you can easily disprove. But, you know, if somebody wanted to focus on the conspiracy theory of why somebody would orchestrate an attack on your own people in the middle of the biggest metropolis that we have in this country, it really does go back to follow the money. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like we said, $2 trillion missing. Suddenly all these other people who own all these companies are wealthy beyond their wildest dreams. We're invading these other countries that have very, very minimal intelligence agencies. They still practically run on villages.
Yeah.
Like, their government is so kind of subsidized by other governments that they don't really even stand on their own 2 feet. The whole thing just makes sense to me that, yeah, the U.S. government would orchestrate this, and they would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one other thing I forgot to bring up that just now went to my mind, was it was either like that morning or right before, they were running an exercise with Air Force One to put the president on a plane in case there was a hijacking attack where planes were flew into a building.
Well, yeah, they were. So it was the second day of the drills that they were running I can't remember the name of the operation. I had it written down, but I left my shit upstairs. It was the second day of the operation, or the training operations that they're running of simulating hijacked airplanes. And so what they were doing is putting blips on the radar screens of the air defense, the NEIDS, NEADS is what it's called, Northeast Air Defense Systems. So their controllers, they were putting blips on their screens as part of this training, showing aircraft that weren't really there, just for them to use as training, supposedly. And so when they saw these other airplanes on there, they thought it was part of the drills and didn't really notify anybody about it. Mm-hmm. And then they had a lot of their fighter jets were taking part in this other training drill that was like having them fly from the area that they're supposed to be in up to like Canada, Alaska area, and off the coast of the United States, like 200 miles out over the ocean. So there weren't really any fighter jets that could respond to anything if something was seen.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
convenient.
Once the two planes hit the towers and the third plane hit the Pentagon, they finally realized that there are these hijackings that are happening. And so they see Flight 93 that's off path and they can't contact them. And so Dick Cheney orders for that plane to be shot down because it's heading towards Washington. But there aren't any fighter jets that are armed in the area. So there's 2 fighter jets that are on the ground in Pennsylvania that get scrambled. They don't have any missiles or anything on their airplane, on their jets. So what their plan was, they were going to track this plane down, and one of the jets was going to hit it, bump it from the front, and the other one was going to bump it from the back and kind of just
basically pit maneuver a commercial airline.
Pit maneuver it out of the sky. But it turns out that the people on Flight 93 kind of took control of the hijackers, and the airplane crashed in Pennsylvania.
I think that's like, I hate to say favorite part, but like my favorite part of those stories from 9/11 was the people who finally revolted. Yeah. And it was like 13 passengers got together and they were like, fuck this, we're taking over. And basically fought back all these terrorists. And like one of the terrorists was in control of the plane and he kept trying to roll it side to side to throw them off and they wouldn't quit. And then he would start to like pitch and yaw the nose to get him to like fall down and give up or whatever. And they were like, nah, bruh. And they broke into the cockpit and they helped push the fucking plane down into the ground before it could hurt anybody else. Yeah. And it's like, that's like the bravest thing you could do. Like, you're going to die one way or the other. You might as well try to save everybody on the ground.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that's interesting about the dates and the timing and these drills and exercises that were taking place is, I think Spencer mentioned it, like, what if the people that were behind the hijackings knew about all this shit? You know what I mean? Like, they said that a whole shit ton of them, at least the ones that had done any type of pilot training or anything like that, were doing pilot training at, like, U.S. military places. Mm-hmm. Like, who's to say they don't become friends with people, hear about trainings or things that are going on. And this was supposed to be that day was supposed to be like a global training thing or something like mm-hmm. that. What are the odds that these hijackers catch wind of that before it happens and they're like, yeah, that's when this shit's going down?
Or magically time it out.
Yeah.
And that's where my mind raises more questions. Like he was saying, you have all these fighter jets that are 200 miles off the coast, which a fighter jet can cover that ground pretty quick. Mm-hmm. But what difference does it make if they have no weapons? And most of the time during training procedures, they go out without weapons. They don't need them.
Yeah.
And it makes their plane fly a little bit faster because you're, 2,000 or 3,000 pounds down from your 60 millimeter ammunition for your machine gun and your, different sidewinders and things like that. You're more maneuverable. So it doesn't make sense to put these planes in the air with the extra weight if you don't need to. But they happen to be sent away from the danger zone of where these planes are going to hit this building. It just, the timing is super fortuitous.
Well, and then there was the God, I don't remember names, so please don't hate me for this.
Well, I'm Dave. That's Spencer.
Some dude from the Middle East who was like some colonel, lieutenant, captain, Mahout, or some shit. I don't fucking know his name. Had sent over like $100,000 wire transfer to just like the day before September 11th to somebody that was here in the United States who was supposed to be meeting with like some people that were somewhere in some political ladder that really I can't remember what the fuck it all was. But who's to say that if there were organizations in the Middle East that were behind this, that they're not funding getting information, right? Because
for sure.
say if like that's something that like this whole global training thing that they were going to do, I can't remember what they labeled it as, but it was supposed to be like a nationwide fucking deal.
I know one of the trainings was called Operation Armageddon.
Yeah, I think so. And but if you go up to like somebody in the military, even if it's like a high-ranking military official or even a politician or somebody that works for the fucking Pentagon, because the Pentagon was part of that exercise too, and you say, hey man, I'll give you 50 grand, all I need is just some information. And I mean, fuck, 50 grand's quite a bit of money, especially in 2001.
Yeah.
50 grand ain't shit now. You can't even buy a used car for that hardly.
Well, that's where I hope those people get eaten alive, because 50 grand was the cost of 3,000 plus American lives. Yeah. Good on you, brah.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's a terrible fucking thing, but I'm just saying, as far as like...
Oh, it's easily possible. Most everybody can be bought.
Well, the thing about that, though, is like... So, talking about like having information and stuff like that, President Bush, at the time of the attacks, was in an elementary school in Florida, like doing this thing with the classroom where he's reading a book. And that's
trying to read.
Yeah,
he's doing his best.
That's part of the one of the conspiracy theories too, because the book was like something about a goat or something like that. The book was my father the goat or some shit. I can't remember the name of the book. So he's reading this book, and his advisor comes in and tells him what's going on. And this is on the news as it's happening. And he's being recorded reading the book to the kids. So they come in and tell him what's going on, and he kind of just, like, has this weird look on his face and then keeps reading, finishes it, and then stays there for another, like, 45 minutes with the kids at the school before he leaves and takes off and goes wherever he goes after that. His itinerary for doing that was released on like September 2nd or 5th, something like that. The attacks happened on the 11th, and so why wasn't the school targeted? If the president's going to be at the school, it would be a much easier target to take out the fucking president.
Yeah. Well, let's be real. Bush was a puppet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the whole time he was the president. You know,
and I think all of them are.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of them are, but I think some of those people, like Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney, they were kind of running the show. But, you know, it's funny because it's almost like they had this great propaganda campaign lined up to go with the whole thing. Because what are the two words you remember when you hear the word 9/11? Never forget.
Never forget.
Okay, and then this question that everybody likes to ask. Do you remember where you were? Or the whole thing where the guy whispers in Bush's ear to tell him, and like that kind of look of shock on his face, or contained shock. I don't know. He's a terrible actor. But you know exactly what that iconic moment looks like because you've seen it dozens of times. And then after that, with the impending wars that follow it, you get all these other cool little catchphrases and support the troops and all this other thing. And it was almost like they hired the best marketing team to come up with all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost like they put them in a room. Hey, we're going to crash a couple of planes into a building. we need some cool slang to go with it. We need cool iconic like visuals and things that we could put on hats and T-shirts.
Well, which I mean, if you're looking at it in that perspective, that could very easily play into like the whole false flag thing.
Exactly. And again, going to that perspective of it, like galvanized Americans as a whole. So now you're feeding them merch to go with it.
Yeah.
And it just perpetuates the whole idea over and over. Now, you could say it's just kind of what came after, but how come we don't have that for like Vietnam or the Korean War or even World War II? I mean, sure, you'll see like the guys with the hats, you know, Korea War veteran or whatever. It's kind of it. We don't have all these cool slang terms or catchphrases that go with it.
Or even, I guess, a comparative one where our country was attacked would be like Pearl Harbor. There's not really a whole lot of catchphrase or there's no Pearl Harbor merch, should I say?
Yeah, there's no hashtag Pearl Harbor, you know. And it's Pearl Harbor is easy to remember because, like you said, it was the last time we were attacked on our own ground. But it's like the most I think anybody can remember from that is the date. Do you remember the date?
December 7th, 1941.
See? That's about it.
I couldn't have fucking told you. I don't know.
See? Prove
Well,
my
I've
point.
been to Pearl Harbor and seen the plane or the ships down in the water still. And they do actually sell merch there about Pearl Harbor.
but it's not
in
like
memorial
but
sense.
it's not like nationally recognized kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
you don't have
you know?
influencers going there on December 7th to make hashtag posts.
No, but you got a lot of them going to Ground Zero.
Yeah.
Still,
Yeah.
you know.
I've been to Ground Zero too. Like, I think I went there actually. It was almost about a year and a half after 9/11. I went there and saw the giant fucking hole in the ground, and they had one of those big dump trucks that they use for like up at Kennecott.
Mm-hmm. A haul truck.
A big haul truck parked down there in the middle, just so you could see the scale of how big the hole is, and it just looked like a little tiny fucking Tonka truck down in there.
Really?
Little hot wall.
Yeah, and those things are enormous.
Yeah, they're fucking massive.
Like the tire would fill up this room.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember when I worked for a drilling company, one of the safety videos we had to go through was haul truck safety. And like the video starts, you just see a normal like dual cab pickup, and then the camera slowly pans out and you see a haul truck run it over, and it's only like an eighth of the size of the tire.
The tire, yeah.
They're so massive.
Yeah. That was pretty eye-opening just to see that, just the scale of, I mean, because you look at it on TV and see these buildings falling, and it looks like a big mess, and then you go there and see the actual footprint of where these buildings were, and it's fucking enormous. At the time, it was just dirt. Now they have like a memorial site, yeah, there, and it's kind of like a memorial park.
I talked to a guy that I used to work with. He went there. I'm trying to remember what year it was, but I think the memorial had pretty much been finished and everything like that. And I asked him how that was, and he goes, "Dude, it was eerie as fuck."
Yeah.
He said that it's like, it's a place where like it's like a no nonsense place for that memorial. Like anybody sees you doing something out of line, like you could literally get arrested for doing dumb shit around that memorial. But he was telling me it was just very fucking eerie walking around that memorial.
Rightly so. I mean, there was almost 3,000 people that died there in one day from the attack, and thousands of emergency response members that are still suffering today from inhaling the dust, and a lot of them they have like a 12% higher chance of dying of cancer, lung cancer, all different kinds of cancer from the asbestos. And
so, interestingly, Sissy, her uncle, was a firefighter for Salt Lake City for a long time, and when 9/11 happened, he went out there, and he's all kinds of medically jacked up.
Yeah.
And a lot of the doctors and stuff from what she's explained to me have basically explained that part of it could be from the dust and all the other shit at Ground Zero when he went out there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, just like the concrete particulates in the air, they're going to give you silicosis.
Yeah, they actually had a bill that was passed for the emergency response relief bill that was supposed to help all the emergency response people that were involved with that pay for their ongoing medical bills and stuff like that. But that bill ended in 2015. So yeah, it didn't get renewed for some reason.
How does that not get renewed? Like that to me is fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
You got so many people who were impacted by this, and you're not going to cover their medical needs.
Yeah, I want to say there was upwards of 50,000 emergency response members from all across the country that went there and helped in trying to find survivors and help with cleanup and stuff like that. And I mean, 60,000, 50,000 people, to pass a bill to protect these people that went there to, try to help in our country's time of need, albeit it might have been our own people's fault.
Allegedly.
And we can't even help pay for their medical bills. Like, it's so dumb.
Yeah, whoever didn't pass that bill can get fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so I was watching this show, and I guess I had never watched anything to do with 9/11 from this point of view of people who were on the streets in neighboring subdivisions of housing and businesses and things like that, who saw what happened and immediately got their camera out or their camcorder and were filming their own experiences. And this one lady is standing outside this, I don't know, it's a deli or something, but she's just awestruck at what she's seeing, and the owner's got his camera and he puts the camera on the counter, runs out there and grabs the lady and brings her in and shuts the door, and this big plume of dust and everything else comes through, and it's full of debris, and he just yanks her inside right before it comes through.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Oh my God, you saved my life!" But he keeps the camera trained at the front door, and you just see it's like water going by, and it's just devastating. And all these people on the ground level on the streets and shit trying to run away and get away from all this debris coming their way. It's pretty devastating, and I never really seen it from that point of view. But what's even more fucked up is all the people who had their camera out and they're looking at the building, and you're watching all these people jump off the building.
Mm-hmm.
Who would rather die by a big splat at the end than get crushed
Or burned.
And it's just so disheartening to watch it, because it's you're put in this moment where you're going to die either way, but you only have two options, and people are going, yeah, you know what, I'll take that 9-second free fall to the bottom rather than have this shit land on me. And even some of the first responders are telling their stories in this show, and this one guy was like, I lifted this big chunk of concrete, and what I found underneath was a crushed person, just a passerby on the street, not even somebody from the building, and it's just kersplat underneath this big chunk of concrete.
Yeah.
And it's and that fucked me up for life.
That's the one thing too about a lot of the first responders, and not even just first responders, but people in general. I mean, can you imagine the amount of PTSD from that whole fucking thing? How could you live in New York after that and hear a fucking airplane and not nearly shit yourself? Because I mean, and for anyone who says that PTSD is not a real thing, there are some people who believe that out there. Well, my message to you is get fucked. Because
eat shit.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, they actually put out I don't know if it was a law or they just decided to do this across all news agencies, that they wouldn't show because after it happened, they kept on showing replaying for months and months. They'd replay the videos on the news and stuff like that. And so they decided that they weren't going to show the actual video of it except for on the anniversary date of 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would show stills pictures, but they wouldn't show the actual videos because they believed that it was having a negative effect on people across the country, reliving that moment like a PTSD.
Yeah. Well, and like I know that for me, I was 13 years old when 9/11 happened, and I didn't really grasp the severity of it. I didn't really understand it. Now, as an adult, when I see videos, when I see images, it honestly just makes me so... there's like this combination of anger and sadness, and I can't decide which one is more overwhelming.
I think it depends on the day. Yeah, it's... Having watched some of the shit that I was watching in preparation for this, it definitely makes me more sad. Not just seeing the aspects that I saw, but also hearing about like the people who were on the flights and they're making calls and they're calling their loved ones.
Oh god.
And they're like
man.
playing the audio from these calls, and
Oh fuck that.
there was an astounding amount of people who were just like kind of at peace with it. Like especially the guy who was leading the revolt on that fourth flight, the one that just went down in a field or whatever. And he like calls his wife or whatever, or no, he was on the phone with like a dispatcher or something. And he asked the lady like, will you say the Lord's Prayer with me? And they say the prayer, and then he's like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna go handle this, let's roll. And that became part of kind of that like zeitgeist campaign. When people would say let's roll, it became so tied to 9/11, even though I didn't know about it at the time. I only recently learned about it, but that's why I recall seeing so many like shirts and hats saying let's roll.
Yeah.
That idea of revolt. But that actually kind of brings me around to another thing that I was going to mention earlier, was like all these people who were able to use the phones inside the plane to call their loved ones or to try to call for help or whatever. And the terrorists, by many accounts, the terrorists were just like, yeah, whatever, use the phone. And to me, that goes back to that kind of layup aspect of all the planes that have the ability to take us down are way far away and they don't have any armaments. Anybody who can do anything can't do anything. So yeah, go ahead and call. Tell people. Tell them it's hijacked. Tell them we're headed this direction. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
They can't stop us.
Yeah, true.
It's already kind of preset that this is going to happen no matter what.
Yeah, I remember that day pretty vividly. I was 21 at the time, and I was getting ready for work in the morning. And my brother called me into the front room, and he's like, dude, check this out. And it was the news playing, after the first plane had hit. And we watched live as the fucking second one hit. And the first one hit, and we were just like, dude, a plane crashed into the, Twin Towers. So we were watching it, just thinking it was an airplane that hit the tower, and then after the second one hit, I was like, we're going to fucking war. And I knew that, like, I said that out loud. Dude, we're going to war. Like, knew it already instantly, and was at the age where I was, like, really thinking about, like, I had that, like, man, I should join the cause and get involved. And then shortly after, I was diving down the infantile internet, just looking at different stuff, and then seeing all these conspiracy theories talking about, like, at that time they had believed it was a false flag operation, and so I just was like, man, I don't know if I can get behind this, this effort to wipe out the so-called terrorists that, and so I've been into this shit for a long time, and that was one of the things that really stood out to me, was like being in the military. I mean, if you were in the military and going to fight this war, and then it coming out later on that possibly this is,
it was all bullshit.
It was all bullshit. How would you feel about that? Going to Iraq or Afghanistan and killing people and stuff like that, to find out that it was to make these certain people rich. It's fucking dumb.
Yeah, it's. I can still remember. I kind of had. I wouldn't necessarily say that I knew that our country was going to war, but I also watched live when the second plane hit, and I think I just remember going like, "What the fuck?" Because I think in my head, I had it being 13 years old. I was like, "Well, that fucking airline industry's going under," right? Like I thought this was like, maybe just an accident. And then when the second plane hit, it was just like, yeah, it's not an accident anymore. But my mind being only 13, the only thing that could come to my mind was, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was 16 and I was in school at the time. And like people started kind of talking about it, and I was just like, nobody seems to really know what's going on. And I remember the panic leaving school that day and seeing like these lines of cars around gas stations. Lines.
Yeah.
And like gas prices got way inflated. You're like $5-6 a gallon. And people are just waiting in line to fill up their car. And that didn't make sense to me, but it really kind of showed how people are. Something happens, the first thing you have to do is panic and then only worry about yourself. And I thought that was so dumb, but then I remember seeing the footage of it after I got home and going, holy shit, some planes really went into some buildings. My first thought was actually kind of like, that's really not what I thought would happen if a plane hit a building, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I know it's fucked up to say, but then, like seeing some of the other footage that came out of the people jumping off the building and the big plume of smoke and dust and fire and all this shit, and you're just like, holy shit, that's terrible.
Yeah.
My mom worked for a federal agency at the time of 9/11. That's what she did for her career. It's called DCMA. It's Defense Contracts Management Agency.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of your big defense contractors like Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, things like that, her agency was basically like the governors of those companies.
Mm-hmm.
So they would have like their own offices within the walls of these companies, kind of a thing, But because of that, yeah, my mom got sent home, and I want to say it was like 2 weeks that she was not at work. They were just like, yep, if you're a federal government employee, you ain't coming to work. And that, me being 13 and realizing like my mom was home by the time I had gotten home from school, and my mom, I just remember her like bawling her eyes out and her just being terrified. And me being a kid, the actions didn't really resonate with me, but seeing my mom in that state, that shit resonated with me. I was like, yeah, this is bad.
Yeah, I was working at J.C. Penney's at the time as a fucking loss prevention officer.
Back when you were allowed to chase people?
Yeah, back when we were able to tackle people in the parking lot. I went to work that day. I think I went to work at like 1 or noon or something like that. And there was nobody there. Fucking no customers. And so we were all kind of just standing in the middle of the aisles talking, all the employees. And the store manager came down at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and was like, yeah, we're going to close. Let's close it up. And so we closed for the day, which is odd in itself. And I do remember seeing the lines at the gas stations and stuff like that. And but I think we were closed for like 2 days after that. And then after going back, still, like, people weren't coming to the mall to go shopping for anything.
Can I ask kind of a dumb question here? Maybe it's a dumb question. Why do people go to gas stations when shit hits the fan? Because one thing I remember is after we had that fucking earthquake here, did you guys see the lines at the gas stations after that earthquake?
Yeah.
I literally had to go, like, I was like, I need to go get, I think I was going to get either a can of chew or I was going to Smith's to go get some groceries or something. I couldn't believe it. Every gas station I drove past was like flooded with cars. So can somebody please explain to me why when shit hits the fan, the first thing people do is go and put gas in their car?
So you'll have a full tank if shit can't get delivered. So if there was a major earthquake or like hurricanes down in the south, when a hurricane's gonna hit, everybody fills up on water and gas. So you'll have gas if it's so fucked up that you can't even get resupplies into the city. So you'll have enough gas to last you for 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, because I just didn't understand that, and that was I didn't really get to see the experience you guys had with 9/11 with people going and filling up at the gas stations when that happened. I don't recall that, but yeah, I very much experienced that when we had that earthquake here, and I was like, I just was like, and then shortly after that, COVID happened, and then everybody was like, then you couldn't buy toilet paper. Did people buy all the toilet paper when 9/11 happened, or was that just with COVID?
I think that was a strictly COVID thing.
I think it's if I had to be honest and like try to pinpoint a reason, I would say movies are the problem. Because how many movies have you seen where there is kind of an apocalyptic type situation, and the first thing people do is go for gas, or Mad Max, or there was another movie where like the power went off, across the nation, and people were like fighting and scrambling for gas and things like that. So I really think we're kind of subconsciously influenced to do that, even though I'm not. I'm just gonna go home.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I did with the earthquake too, and then like, luckily I've always been pretty well stocked up on like toilet paper when the whole thing happened with COVID. But like, I guess now that I think about it, if you do ever think about like apocalyptic movies or TV shows, even if it's like a zombie apocalypse, when do you ever see anybody go take a shit? Not once out of all the seasons of The Walking Dead that I've seen has anyone ever stopped to take a shit.
Well, you should make a movie about COVID, and that's like...
Like, I'm serious, man. But yeah, the gas thing, and it's still, I hear what you're saying, but it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, I guess. But
yeah, the toilet paper thing didn't make sense to me either.
Yeah, I got plenty of socks.
That's fucking terrible.
Yeah, so like
I'd rather use like a soft pillowcase, because when I buy toilet paper, I buy good shit. I buy the ultra soft.
Well, I'd just get the sock wet and then, and then wash that fucker.
Just bounce it around in the toilet to get it nice and clean, hang it up, dry it for next time.
That's what that Craig guy used to do that worked with us, only he just put the sock back on his foot.
That's the whole assumption that he actually wiped.
Attempted.
He was a...
Yeah, fuck it.
If he did wipe, he took it all the way up the small of his back. I guarantee it. He was fucking gross.
Oh.
I don't know. So, like, I know we're kind of getting off topic with the whole COVID toilet paper thing, but I remember my birthday that happened after, COVID really kind of kicked in. One thing I got for my birthday was a bidet. It was just like a bolt-on fucking bidet thing, and it was like, I don't even need toilet paper. Yeah. You guys are dumb.
Yeah. Bidets are so much nicer anyways.
Yeah, just, you're clean.
Never used one.
My brother has one that you can, like, control the temperature of the water, and then it heats the seat, too. And then it has a little remote control that you can, like, move the spout of water, so it's, like, going back and forth on your asshole. And then after you're done, you can turn on this little fan and it dries your ass.
Dude.
Yeah.
What the
fucking game changer, bro. I don't know. So
I spend like fucking hour and a half at his house in the bathroom. You don't get no, I'm not done.
First thing you walk in, hey, good to see you. I'm gonna go take a shit.
I've been saving this one for like 3 days.
Gonna make a whole Katie Couric in there.
That's terrible.
Oh God, that's fucking fantastic. So, Have you still changed your mind yet?
No. I mean, like I said, when it comes to people benefiting from it, the one thing that I will stay pretty firm on is that that World Trade Center number 7. I do think that was. I think that was for money, personally. But everything else outside of that, I can see where people did benefit greatly from it. I guess I just haven't. And hearing it from you guys, it's not to say that I think that you guys are just both full of shit, but
No,
I would want
to. It's fine.
I would want to do my own kind of investigating on it and kind of look into it and see. And I'll be honest with you. In just about anything that involves people with a shit ton of money or people who are going to make a shit ton of money, there's usually something terrible as a result of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I do think that, you know, people like Dick Cheney and all that investing in defense contract companies and shit like that. I just firmly believe that we were going to go to Iraq with or without September 11th happening. September 11th just really did help. It really, like you guys say, made Americans want that to happen.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you say, hey, there's these other people in the Middle East that have those weapons of mass destruction now you're talking about not a surprise hijacking of airplanes. You're talking about possible nuclear warfare.
Yeah.
And so the American people at that time, because for as much as I want to say that our country is filled with very smart and intelligent individuals, when it comes to what they can put out in the media and how they control the media, because everything that's put in the news is controlled by the government, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But to them, we're a bunch of corn-eating dopes, and they think that the majority of us will believe what they say, which, sadly, the majority probably do. So, to come out after 9/11 happened and been like, yeah, there was this other country over here that's got weapons of mass destruction, the majority of the population is going to take that at face value and be like, yeah, well, fuck them. Fuck every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know? It's like Cat Williams in one of his stand-ups that he does. He's like,
I do not have one insurgent friend.
yeah, he's like, we're not killing their army. We're not killing like anybody in particular. We're fucking killing them. He's like, you know, if they got on a fucking flip-flops, shorts, and a cowboy hat and a Hawaiian t-shirt, we're fucking killing them. You shouldn't have been talking shit. Like, he's like, what does an insurgent look like? Yeah, I mean, that whole spiel, because, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we were doing. We were just going over there fucking up anybody.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, what's that guy got? Is that a Game Boy or is that a fucking grenade? I don't know. Shoot him. But,
Don't fuck with the biggest bully on the yard.
yeah, true. I mean, to me, I just think that there was a lot of it that was unnecessary as far as like going to Iraq, but I feel like going to Iraq was unnecessary because A, there was never really any proof or evidence of these weapons of mass destruction, and B, me personally, as an American citizen, I had no bone to pick with Iraq. I had a bone to pick with the people that I thought were responsible behind the 9/11 attacks. And Saddam Hussein and all them people had absolutely nothing to fucking do with it. To my knowledge.
It's interesting because most of the time in these terror attacks, the terrorist groups will come out and announce that they were the ones who were behind it. And throughout the whole thing, Osama bin Laden always maintained saying that he had nothing to do with it. He wasn't even aware of anything that was happening.
Well, it's like you said, being part of that group, and he was part shareholder, and yeah, he never like came out and was like, oh yeah, that was me, that was my guys,
Yeah.
and
So
then they killed him. I mean,
also
you
when
always got to
they-
kill the patsy.
When they put out the report, the government's investigation into 9/11, they put out it was like a 10,000 page report of like what they believed happened. So when they put out a report, they send it through Congress, and then like the National Defense people, so they can redact information that's top secret. So in this, there was a bunch of stuff that was redacted, just blacked out. But in there was 28 consecutive pages, which usually doesn't happen. It's usually like here and there, just like bits of information that are left out. There were 28 consecutive pages that were missing when it got released. So finally, after the Freedom of Information Act came out, they were forced to put that out, and it was all the information about President Bush and Dick Cheney's holdings in these companies and groups like that, that were redacted in the initial release of the forms, which is suspect for sure.
Very.
So yeah, if you're looking for information on this stuff, there's a podcast called Conspiracy Theories on Spotify that they do. It's like a 6 or 7 part special that each one is like 40 minutes, and they break down fucking everything, all the key players and all the people behind the money, and they trace back their connections with like government going back all the way to like Nixon, because these people have been in those offices like Rumsfeld and stuff like that. He was Ronald Reagan's Secretary of Defense or something like that way back in the 80s, and he's still holding these positions, and he's a fucking multi-millionaire. Why is somebody in government a multi-millionaire when they get paid, what's their salary, $150,000 a year, but he has like $100 million?
Yeah.
How? But yeah, it's really interesting, and they go through the Carlyle Group and show how there was connections between Bin Laden, Dick Cheney, Bush, the Saudi Arabia royal family. They talk about how gas prices, oil was being traded at about $17 a gallon before 9/11. After 9/11, it was being traded at like $40 a gallon.
Yeah.
Which, if they traded into euros, it would have been more like $60 a gallon.
Pretty much.
In exchange rate. Now, of course, it's like, what, $108 a gallon, or $108 a barrel.
It's ridiculous is what it is.
Although, one thing I found that was interesting about them pointing at Osama bin Laden to be responsible for it, one of the shows that I was watching, maybe it was that Loose Change one, but they pointed out that when the FBI put out a wanted poster for him, or, you know, made it public that he was wanted, one of the reasons that were not on there was 9/11.
Yeah.
And when they were asked, like, why is that not on there? They said, because we can't prove that he was behind it.
Shocker.
Which, another interesting one was that the videos of Osama bin Laden kind of went silent over the airwaves for a long time, right up until just before Bush's re-election.
Yeah.
So I was like,
well, and then
that's kind of interesting.
when they showed the videos too, they had their translators translate it into what he was saying was kind of more hostile, and then they had like an independent person go back and like retranslate it, and it was like a lot less. Their translations weren't correct, is what they were saying.
Yeah. So Bin Laden's actually kind of a colorful character in and of itself, and him being part of that Carlyle Group and having benefited financially from the whole thing, and then they ended up killing him. Well, I mean, you got to kill the patsy, and it makes sense to kill the Middle Eastern patsy, not any of the white guys.
Well, yeah, and it makes your stocks go up too.
Yeah, and it's what I found really funny is they told us for years and years he's hiding out in a cave and he's doing this and that, and it's like, for one, if you know he's hiding out in a cave, go fucking kill him. But then when they actually go kill him, he's just in a house and basically what is equivalent to a suburban neighborhood in that country. And then SEAL Team 6 goes in and ices him. And then, shortly thereafter, SEAL Team 6 is shot down in a helicopter. Convenient. The whole thing is just like, all of it reeks of horseshit.
Yeah.
And going back to, these kind of crooked politicians and people who are getting wealthy, I really think, and this is just my opinion, we need to go back to hanging people for treason.
Yeah.
All these, let's just say we find out for a fact that the whole 9/11 thing was a government instituted program that happened, and it was a conspiracy, and it was an inside job, and it was to cover up and then again make millions on top of that. If proof ever came out about that, I literally think we should take everybody involved and hang them in front of everybody. In fact, do it on the White House lawn.
Yeah.
Send a message to everybody saying, we don't tolerate this shit.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting when you look into 9/11 conspiracies is how much of a paper trail there is. I think that's kind of the part where it's just like, man, if they were trying to pull this off without getting caught, they didn't do a very good fucking job of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, just like they said that they found one of the hijackers' passport on the sidewalk before the towers fell.
Fucking how?
Intact, like not a burn or anything on it, but it's laying there on the sidewalk and somebody picked it up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that...
But they couldn't find the black box.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be indestructible.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure commercial aircrafts don't have a feature where you can just roll down your window.
Throw it out the window like a cigarette butt.
Yeah, like... Not like you're just flicking an ash out the window of a commercial airliner. Now, on that passport, did they say they found that before the towers fell?
After the plane had hit, but before the tower fell.
Really?
Yeah.
That is the biggest load of horse shit I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
I think I would want to know on what side of the... This is where I got to play a little bit of the devil's advocate here. Depending on what side of the tower they found it on, could make me question it a little tiny bit.
Why,
It is...
Do you think the plane hit and it like flew through the windshield?
No, like, okay, so when the planes hit, I mean, debris got sent hundreds of yards from that impact. So, could it potentially be possible that upon impact, if it was found, like, let's just say, for example, this is your tower, plane hits here, exit side would be over here. If they find it on the floor on this side of the tower, it's very highly unlikely, I'm going to say that. But is it outside the realm of possibility? Maybe. Now, if the plane hits here and they find that shit here, that's fucked. That's super fucked.
They didn't really specify what side of the tower is, but they said that like when the plane hit, it made a hole that was like 90 feet wide and 30 feet deep, so it didn't go all the way through the building. The plane didn't.
Yeah, but that
so
initial...
it kind of explodes.
Yeah, that initial impact of the plane... Because, I mean, you got to imagine that plane is hitting steel beams. I mean, everything that
I'm sure stuff blew out on the other side.
Yeah, well, not even on the other side. I mean, as soon as it hits, like, so much of that plane is crumbling as it's hitting the building.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Let's just say 10% of that plane didn't even make it 10 feet into the building.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
10 feet of that plane probably just got crushed like a beer can. So...
I don't know. I could speculate all day on that, and I still don't think I would come up with a logical enough explanation for it to make any sense to me.
Yeah.
That sounds like somebody was walking by who was a plant and was like, oops, and just dropped it on the sidewalk.
Hey, look up there and drop.
Yeah. Holy shit, a plane just hit as they're dropping it on the ground. I don't know. Yeah, it's the whole thing is a super fucked up deal. And like I was saying, having watched the stuff that I was watching, people's testimony, hearing the calls made from the planes and things like that, is really gut wrenching.
Yeah.
I don't. I've heard them. I've heard a handful of them. I don't want to hear them.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard because you have to, in some way, imagine yourself making that phone call. Of what would you say, or even receiving that phone call. How do you react?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you kind of want to comfort that person, but you also want to hear their last moments, and yeah, the whole thing's just fucked.
How does? I mean, maybe you guys can answer this because maybe I just haven't done enough research. How do they even get to the point to where they take control of the plane? That's what I'm trying to figure out, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I try to think of it in the sense like if I was a pilot and some fucking dude just comes walking up and is like, "Hey, I'm taking over your plane." I'm like, yeah? Well, let's talk about that.
There's been planes hijacked before. You know, they'll take somebody hostage or, you know, break their way into the cockpit and then take one of the other pilots hostage. And in most of those cases, it's like they force them to go somewhere where they're not planning on going or whatever, and they fly to wherever this person is demanding them to go to. And so I could see them, you know, busting in and taking control of the plane, and everybody's saying, "Oh, this will all be over in a minute. It'll all be over in a minute," not knowing that they're going to crash the planes into the towers. So I could see how people might be a little passive in that situation of like, okay, well, let's all just relax and just, he's not going to hurt anybody as long as nobody fucks with him. We're just going to end up going somewhere and landing somewhere else, whatever.
Yeah, because traditionally the aircraft that have been hijacked, it's that typical like movie hostage situation. I want this amount of money and a chartered flight to Cuba or whatever,
Yeah.
to a non-extradition country, and that's usually what happens. And then, you know, it's just like in the movies, they'll send in, you know, a military team or a SWAT team or whatever, and they go in and just fuck those guys up. It's happened many times. But it's like you said, it wasn't expected that it was going to be like, well, we're going to take control of this plane and use it as a fucking ballistics missile into a, you know, a skyscraper.
Yeah. And it's like, how many times have like banks been robbed by 2 or 3 people while there's, you know, 30 or 40 people in the bank? Nobody does anything because, oh, they're just going to take the money. We're all going to survive this thing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's just me. I just know that, and obviously we'll never know the exact circumstances of what took place on those airplanes. You know, unfortunately, what exactly happened leading up to all that shit, the only people that knew what happened are no longer with us. But I know me, I already have mad anxieties with being on airplanes. Like, I fucking hate being on airplanes. I can't stand it. The takeoff doesn't bother me, flying doesn't bother me, landing, I fucking hate it. But I know with me already having like crazy anxieties about flying, I almost have to imagine that unless somebody had some type of a firearm to prevent me from stopping them from taking a plane, even as a passenger, I'm sorry, but my adrenaline is going to fucking take over, and if you think you're going to take over a plane that I'm in, you are dead fucking wrong, because I will fucking rip your head off of your fucking shoulders.
Well,
like,
there's
not going to happen.
There's also this idea that people on the plane were led to believe that there were bombs in the plane.
Ooh.
So that would make part of that story make sense of like, if you don't do what we tell you, we're going to blow up the plane. But going back to what Spencer was saying of like, maybe this theory of, okay, just like let them have the money they want, they fuck off to wherever, and we're going to be fine. Versus, shit, they could blow us up at any minute. Which in my mind, even if you believe that there's a bomb and you have some sense that like, holy shit, we're flying over Manhattan, I got to do something. And a lot of them did. And even there was one guy on one of the planes, and he was like a Mossad operator or something like that. Real tough guy, you know, very well trained. And he went to go to try to attack the terrorist. Little did he know there was a terrorist planted in the seat behind him, and they fucking slit his throat before he even got up. So he tried to fight back, but it's believed that there were many terrorists all the way throughout, so if there was a problem, that they could all jump in and help.
Yeah.
But a lot of them
Wow.
were posing as passengers.
So they said that there was 19 terrorists involved in the 4 planes that went down.
Wow.
So about 5 per plane.
Give or take.
But yeah, so all in all, with everything that I've kind of binged through and chased down in wormholes over the past couple days, like, I was really hoping to, come to the conclusion that, like, yeah, it was just as simple as this terrorist group that hated Americans that, came up with this grand scheme and pulled it off successfully. Unfortunately, like, it just led me down to make my beliefs a little more solid that it was like a planned thing from our people inside of our own government. Who those people are for sure, I couldn't tell you that.
They're probably the same ones keeping all the aliens from us.
Yeah, chasing the money. It's like pretty obvious to see who some of the major players were and are still. So, what about you?
I'm on the exact same page. I don't believe hardly any of the conspiracy theories with the crash itself or the building or the demolition or any of that. But just the simple fact that you had this big cover-up where this big amount of money just went missing and still we don't know where it's at. I don't think anybody really knows.
Yeah.
But then all these people who made massive, massive amounts of money in the aftermath of the deaths of these, 3,000 Americans, it's fucked up. Like, the whole thing's fucked up. I don't think we'll ever know the truth, but in my mind, that is the truth.
And it's kind of comparable to the JFK situation. Like, if you know about or have looked into the conspiracy theories surrounding JFK's assassination.
Oh, the mob killed him.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Like, they came up with this plan, had to get a reason to do it. They found the reason, and then they found the person who was going to be the patsy. Could be, Osama bin Laden's the patsy.
Yeah.
And they pull off the attack, make everybody believe it happened one way, and then go after the patsy.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, I think it's going to take a lot more research of my own to lean more towards the conspiracy. The great thing about my standings on the conspiracy of 9/11 is I don't completely dismiss it. I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibilities. There are some conspiracy theories out there that you're just like, not possible.
Flat Earth.
Yeah, like
How could it be round, dude? You look out your window, does it look round to you?
Have you ever looked at a map, bro?
Shit's flat as this piece of paper right here.
like Tupac dancing on a hologram of an airplane, right? Like, there's just there's some conspiracy theories out there, but as far as like like you guys say, because I do agree in the sense that you do gotta follow the money. So maybe that's something I can start to do a little bit of rabbit holing myself. I guess for me, I try to look at every aspect of it. I do, and that's where I was watching like the Explosive Evidence documentary on Tubi, because that's one of the things that they say. But if you guys watch that, there is actually a shit ton of law violations that were done after 9/11.
Oh yeah.
So like there's like some, I think it's like the American Institute of Architects or something like that. They are supposed to be able to go and examine all of the wreckage and everything at ground zero. They were supposed to be able to run tests on all that, and they didn't. They didn't allow them to. And one of the architects on there, I think, states it really well. He's like, how are we supposed to prevent buildings from falling down like this if you're going to keep the shit away from us? It's going to tell us how it happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, if you're trying to investigate a crime scene, You know, if
Yeah,
you're
what are they trying to keep them from finding?
yeah, exactly. It's really interesting, but I do like the, you know, I do like the absolute scientific approach of the explosive evidence documentary, but it is primarily structured around the Twin Towers and Tower 7 falling.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where I do tend to believe that while yes, there may be a huge paper trail of people making money, which, like I said, I definitely want to do some research and try to verify, but what about the Pentagon? What about the other plane that people now believe was going towards the White House? Are those just decoys? Is that just to fuel the fire of like, yes, this was a terrorist act? Because if it was just the World Trade Centers, then it would be really easy to look at it and be like, this seems kind of fucked. But the fact that one of them hit the Pentagon and that there was another one that was potentially going towards the White House, is that just to fuel the fire of, yes, this was a terrorist act and kind of distract from it? I guess would that be the point of those?
Also, you have to take into account that the plane that hit the Pentagon in a section that was just, I think it was 5 or 6 days away from being finished. They did renovations on the Pentagon to make them impenetrable to attacks, and that section is the only section they had actually done.
The financial section.
Yeah.
Well, I think they said there was some other. I think the Naval Command Headquarters or something like that was in that section.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just a different floor.
Well, I think it's weird that they actually hit the spot that they had just reinforced.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's interesting about that is some of the conspiracy videos are like, oh, well, there was no plane there's no video evidence of the plane ever hitting the Pentagon, so people wonder if it really was a plane, but there's plenty of eyewitnesses that were just like, yeah, it was a fucking plane.
Yeah.
Like, it flew, like, the one guy was like, it flew right over top of my fucking car. It was.
Well, there was pieces of the plane leading up to the Pentagon, because it had hit, like, 5... light poles or something on the way down. So there was like pieces of the plane, and I think they said that one of the wings actually broke off before that actually hit the building. So there was debris scattered that obviously proved that there was an airplane there.
Yeah, I think we'd call that one there, because we could just talk about this one all day.
Yeah.
I wasn't going into it trying to change your mind, but I was curious to see if you would change your mind going through it.
Mm.
But I'm really glad that you're open to the idea.
Oh, yeah.
And I would say definitely don't change your mind off of fucking what I've said or what Dave said. All of our information comes from fucking the internet and Rick Doty.
I don't even know who the fuck that is.
It's been kind of a running gag for us where we talked about Rick Doty because he was this... OSI agent, but his job was to disinform on different alien stories and things like that.
Oh, okay.
But since he's gotten out of that, he's come out and he's more of like on the believer side or whatever you want to call it, where he was saying that a lot of what he leaked out in the disinformation campaign was actually true.
Oh.
Yeah.
No way.
Shut up! No way.
The only thing the last comment I just want to make about anything to do with 9/11 is, honestly, I think what I really hate about it though, because there's so much shit happening in our country even right now, and I honestly feel like at least over the last probably 10 years, I felt like this whole country is just so fucking divided. What really sucks for me, and I say it all the fucking time when people bring up 9/11 or even just the social climate of our country, it sucks that 9/11 was the last time that I felt like we stood together as a country.
Yeah.
It sucks that it took something that tragic to unite us. That fucking sucks.
Yeah, and what really sucks is how short-lived that coming together was. Like, you look like you said, you look at the country now, and most people are so divided, even amongst like family members. You'll have family members that you agree with and disagree with, and some people like won't even talk to their people in their family because they have different views. And it's like,
yeah,
one thing with 9/11 is I really think it kind of changed the landscape of the world. I mean, it allowed the opportunity for government to pass the fucking Patriot Act and all the, like, they created an organization, the TSA. It just kind of fueled them to have an excuse to do all this other shit that kind of almost infringes on freedoms that we should have and everybody should have. But, you know, I can see that they're trying to make people safe, but it can also be used very negatively or nefarious ways.
For sure. Yeah, the everlasting effects of 9/11 are far-reaching, even till now. And, you know, we're almost 21 years later. But I like what Matt Best said about it, is I want that same world from September 12th, but without the tragedy.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's
I actually saw that on a car the other day when I was picking up my kids from school. The car in front of me had a bumper sticker on it that said, treat people like you treated people on 9/12.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
All right, let's pull the plug on that one. This one was good. Heavy topic.
Yeah.
We got through
loved
it. All right. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.